Well, Scott Morrison and Dan Andrews were good buddies for a little while there, Kieran, but it doesn't look like it at the moment. This claim by Victorian Premier Daniel Andrews that ADF personnel in states other than Victoria were only used for airport security and getting overseas passengers to the airport, not for actually enforcing hotel quarantine. Unfortunately, it's just wrong. In New South Wales, at the height of the COVID-19 situation there were 550 ADF employed, and their duties included working with police on hotel quarantine. As I understand it, they're still involved in that role now. Let's hear what Daniel Andrews had to say on this at a parliamentary committee hearing yesterday.
I don't believe ADF support was on offer. And ADF support has been provided in very limited circumstances in New South Wales, not to provide security as such, but to provide transportation from the airport to hotels. So again, I think it is fundamentally incorrect to assert that there was hundreds of ADF staff on offer and somehow someone said no.
Well, he's wrong, at least in some of those matters. Well, we know Defence Minister Linda Reynolds put her own statement out on this yesterday, saying the services were offered March 27 and Victorian authorities told federal authorities on March 28 that Victoria was not seeking ADF assistance with mandatory quarantine arrangements. It was said the ADF then assistance was offered on numerous occasions and it was declined. That's what Reynolds' statement said. So the PM has been keen to pull his punches with Dan Andrews in a bid to keep the National Cabinet together with this crisis and some unity, but appears to have drawn the line here. Both men are known to admire each other's political ability, and that's why they've been getting on up till now. So anyway, that wasn't the end of it. The Victorians replied to Linda Reynolds' statement with a statement from Emergency Management Victoria this morning, saying that that body had involved ADF in initial planning of the hotel quarantine program on the 27th and 28th of March, but assistance was not offered to help with the program, or indeed asked for. Andrews used this statement to argue against Reynolds this morning.
You seem to have missed one important statement in the construction of events. The Emergency Management Commissioner, Andrew Crisp, has issued a statement as well, and I would direct you to that. I'll just make the point so there's simply no doubt whatsoever. The only quarrel, the only argument, the only fight that I'm engaged in or will ever be engaged in until this is over is the fight against this virus. We are deeply grateful to the ADF and the Commonwealth Government for the contribution they're making. I can't speak to statements issued by the Defence Minister. That's entirely a matter for her.
So we have a blame game, should I say, going on now between Scott Morrison and Daniel Andrews on aged care and quarantine. Whether Andrews acknowledges it is Morrison or claims it's just his colleagues who's having a go at him, it's really Morrison versus Andrews. Andrews says he will not even raise this with Morrison.
Frankly, I think the chances of me wasting his time or mine on that media release or statement or whatever you want to call it are very low. When we next speak, or text or WhatsApp or whatever the communication method is, it'll be about matters that are altogether to do with our partnership, the fact we work incredibly hard together to get to the other side of this. That's what we'll be spending our time on. That's what we always spend our time on.
It will be interesting to see what Scott Morrison will say at his next press conference on this matter, sure to be asked. But when it comes to the state opposition criticising Dan Andrews, he's using similar tactics to Scott Morrison when he talks about the federal opposition, both saying they are about the pandemic and the other guys are about politics.
Whatever the opposition call for is not relevant to me. I've got a job to do. Their politics has got nothing to do with this global pandemic.
But does it have anything to do with the community sensibility?
Well, that'll be a matter for the community. I would have thought it was pretty obvious who was focused on the politics and who's focused on the global pandemic. That's my job, and I won't be changing my approach.
Politics. It's that simple, and that's why I just ignore it. I mean, honestly, engaging in self-serving political partisan point scoring is, I think the public will make their own ruling on that. If politicians don't have something constructive to say or helpful to add to the conversation, then I think the public would prefer that they just allow those who have responsibilities to get on with the job, and that's what we're seeking to do in as constructive a way as we can.